Okay. The verse on the screen is Jeremiah. Oh, now I can hear myself. Um, Grade 9 parent meeting, school choices, process, course and planning, AP or IB, career planning, and Mexico. Are we good? Yes. No. Maybe so.
Not on. Now it is. Awesome. Well, welcome tonight. I think I shouldn't have announced that it's recorded. Oh, well, that's okay. Thank you for taking time tonight to come out. There's a lot of information that we're going to cover, and we probably won't be able to answer all the detailed questions that you might have. So feel free to pop an email, and we can set up a time to drop by at pickup or early in the morning if there's more conversations that you want to have. Let me just open in prayer. You know, I'm sensing it already. The nerves are starting to tingle, and a lot of anxiety. One mom was just sharing that she doesn't think her student has any clue the amount of change they are about to go through in September. And it's true. You can't even imagine it if you've never really been there, you know. If you have an older sibling, you can kind of put some pieces together. But the one thing I know is God goes before them, God is with them, and God had this planned all along. And you have done very good jobs of parenting them, and you're still with them. So it's going to be okay. It is going to be okay. They're going to love some pieces of high school, and I think they're already kind of figuring out how much they're loved here, and it might not be the same there. And that's okay. That's okay. We want this to be a place that they call home. So let's pray, and then we're going to dig right in. And when we're done the high school part, if your student isn't going to Mexico, you're welcome to leave, and we'll continue on through with a few of the nitty details we want to talk about for Mexico too. So do you want to open? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for your leadership and guidance. God, we're grateful to have experienced your goodness in the past, and we see evidence of your faithfulness, God, and so we just pray for that we would continue to see that going forward. I pray for wisdom as big decisions get made about high schools, and pray for just clarity of information that every parent and child would have all the information they need to make those informed decisions. We pray about our upcoming trip to Mexico as well, God. Keep us safe and just guide us by your Holy Spirit. So we love you, Lord, and we're grateful for the chance to see students come all the way up through grade 9 and then to send them out to have an impact in the high schools that they go into. And so, Lord, we just give this time to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So this very recording, the PowerPoint, and a lot of the information that we're going to cover tonight, not all of it, but a lot of these documents are going to be, if they aren't already, they're placed on our school parent portal webpage under junior high school information. It is quite robust now. It's going to get a lot more robust in the coming days as the high schools start to release some of the packages and tools that will be helpful. So watch for that. Keep looking back, or if I say, hey, go check out the high school information webpage. It's inside the parent portal. So we've already talked about all the various choices. We've got all these public choices. We won't talk about transfers and designates and all that piece. And in fact, I'm not even going to go through lots of this because I think most of you have got this figured out. You've begun the process of what's my designate if I'm going to look at my grade 9 student going to Calgary Public, or I'm going to look at my grade 9 student going to Calgary Catholic. So it's really important to note that, because if you're doing one of those schools and you want to do it, like, you have to know what your designate is as your backup, right? And then, of course, that might be the school that your child's choosing. We'll walk you through that beginning process a little bit later here tonight. And then, of course, we've got Catholic school choices. Let me reiterate this again because it's kind of confusing. The Calgary Catholic schools that are on this list, excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold, so I'm kind of struggling here. All Saints is the newest school on our side of the city in Legacy. It's the only one actually that I'm aware of in Calgary Catholic that will potentially accept non-Catholic students. Bishop O'Byrne is right here connected with, in Shaughnessy here. Again, Calgary Catholic. And then Bishop Carroll is under the Catholic system, and it's an independent school. Then the other Catholic school that we like to talk about, and I have no shame, this is my favorite school. I highly recommend this school, and that's okay if there's hurdles to attend HTA, Holy Trinity Academy. It is under a different Catholic school division because it is in Okotoks, and there's the hurdle. It's in Okotoks, and we are very welcome at Holy Trinity Academy. If they have space, they interview every single student, so you do have to go through an interview process. And I'm noticing from the high school intention form, quite a few parents are looking at the private and the Christian choices, and they're listed there. All of the private and Christian choices, you need to contact the school directly, and they are going to walk you through the registration process and the admission process. Some, it's pretty guaranteed. If you want to go there, they would accept a GCA student. Some of them are very strong academic, and so it might depend on SSAT scores and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's some open houses still coming up. Some were postponed from the fall or from different times when they normally are. So you can see the dates here, and we'll send out this PowerPoint as well, so that everyone has it, and there's live links in it and stuff like that.
And it's on the website.
And it's on the website. Yeah. So there's lots of ways to find this again. For the times, just double check on the school websites for each of those. And so you'll notice a few of them, they're kind of all bunched together there. The 2 on the 25th at Beaverbrook and Scarlett, 3 on Centennial, JCS, and Wisewood on the 26th, and then All Saints on the 30th, Holy Trinity on March 2nd.
Can I interrupt you there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We have reached out to the schools because they've announced these dates long after we have booked our ski trip. So they have been very open. Most of them have said because it conflicts with a school, their open house conflicts with a school program, they welcome families to reach out to them, and they will try to set up something that you could come and check out the school if you're missing the open house because of our Fernie trip.
Yeah, unfortunate timing on some of those. For the CB, so the registration process, and I grew up very small town, so I'm learning all this. Where I grew up in Hanna, Alberta, if anyone knows Hanna, and from there it was you go to the school, and then you go to the high school, and then you take the courses that are there, and you maybe get home ec and shop, and then you graduate. So a little different process here in the city, lots of options and lots of things to go through. So for most of the students who have never been registered as a CBE student before, you go through this process for new student registration. You can Google it as well. It'll come up on the CBE website, and there's an online portal that you fill out and put in your information to register students in the CBE. And that's also where you can find the transfer requests. And so again, you register at your designate school and then go in and do the transfer request after that. So, and you got to click, that second link there to get the transfer request. So you would do, if you're looking to transfer, you need both of those links. If you're looking to attend just the designate, it's just that first link is all you need. And right now, it's going to be open February 1st until March 15th. And so you can see the dates here, and that's across the CBE. Those dates are when they're trying to get all the registrations in. And as for the transfer, there's basically 2 reasons why a transfer will be allowed or even considered, and it's actually even more limited than this, as we'll see in just a minute. If there's a specific program that's not offered at a designate school, like IB or AP or the CBE eLearn, then there's a potential to move schools. Particularly IB is a good one to be able to move from a designate school. Or if there's a particular sequence of courses, as you can see there, like that are more unique, like cosmetology, welding, things like that aren't offered at a designate. But you can only pick one of those reasons to transfer. You can't say, it's this and this. For whatever reason, they'll only allow one of those in the transfer request. And with that said, for the public schools,
This is all for public
This is
schools.
all for public schools, yeah. So that would be the only reason to transfer. If you're looking to attend a private school or a Catholic school, yeah, then it's separate. You contact the school and go from there. But here's where we're at currently. I was just at a meeting yesterday at JCS. They're closed to transfers right now because they're full. Same for Centennial. EP Scarlett's limited. Beaverbrook's open but might be limited. And then Wisewood would only be for students who are looking to get into an IB program. So it's pretty limited, and in the recent years we found that it used to be wide open where, lots of schools had room and space for transfers. Now it's a lot more limited than it used to be, trying to move from a designate school for one of those reasons. So for the non-CBE schools, so Calgary Catholic schools, Holy Trinity, private schools, just contact them. So there's no transfer process there. It would still be good to register at the designate, is that right, in that case?
Yes, if you know that you're trying to, let's say it's All Saints and you've been told that non-Catholics will be on a wait list, it's still a good idea to register if your backup is going to be your designate, even if they don't like it. It's good to get that backup registration in so that the option courses, they have a strong choice in the option courses instead of waiting till April or May, and then those option courses will be more limited. So it's good to always have your designate applied for if you're trying to go to a different school that might not accept you.
Yeah, and it's pretty locked in, they've said, for once those forms are filled out with the options listed. It's pretty tough to switch an option later on if a student goes, actually, I was thinking I want to do this. They'll often say, well, for this semester you're here, and then you may not continue with it or something like that. But so just make sure those are kind of thoughtfully and carefully filled out. In terms of help with registration, so every school kind of has their own specific documents. The CBE ones will be relatively aligned, but the actual paper document to register at the school will be found on the websites, and they're not up yet. We were just looking today. End of January is kind of the time. They start to hand those out at the open houses and things like that. And so that's when you'll find those documents online, end of January. Begin looking for those. And then, like we said, February 1st till the 15th is when to be filling those out and putting them in. Mrs. Bernan and Mr. Ness are going to guide students through some specific lessons about high school. And so we're going to talk a lot about it in classes as well. So when those are going on, great conversation starter to I'm sure you guys are already doing it, but to be talking to the kids about that and just saying, yeah, what are they saying at school? What kind of things are important to know? And then later in the term, we'll talk more career path. And that's always, at this age, there's some kids who go, yeah, I know exactly what I want to be, and we know that still might change, but there's a good opportunity to be thinking about that. Just as we know, one step kind of builds on the next, and the courses in high school can impact what you get into in university and so on, and without the need to upgrade. So important to be thinking about those things in career paths, even if someone's going, I have no idea what I want to do. Then we talk about just keeping options open. And you guys and your students are welcome to set up an appointment with one of us as well. If you've got lots of questions or things I'm still trying to figure out, or you're going, I don't know about the different programs that are out there, send us an email and we can totally connect and chat about it and try to answer any other questions that might kind of be burning there.
So one of the things that we advise the students is keep their options open when they're looking at the course registration. Some students, know that I think I'm going to go into engineering. So they have a pretty big clue when they're looking at the courses that are offered at their high school. We guide them to look at their university entrance requirements. So, okay, to get into engineering at U of C, what kind of math do I have to have? Things like that. And then even some of the schools have engineering options. But the bulk of our students are going to go, I don't really know what I want to do. And so we advise them, you want to plan so that you have all the doors open. My parents, they had such wisdom, and I don't even know where that came from, but they said, yeah, we know you don't know what you want to do, but we want you to take the courses you need, so if you ever wanted to go to university, you could do it. And so I did. I was a very mediocre student, but, you know, I took the English that I needed and the math that I needed and, you know, got it all going. And I'm so glad I did. I didn't go to start university till I was 27, but I didn't have to go back and redo. And you can always go back and redo, but it's just a harder road. So I don't know, it worked so well for me. That's the advice we give our students. Keep your options open because, and we'll talk about that later, the career planning that Teresa Valera will take them through. Especially now, and probably for many of you, but especially for this next generation, the roles that they're going to find themselves in will be constantly changing and morphing. And so options open, see where God's going to guide them.
And particularly for all the kids that are going to play in the NBA or the NHL and things like that, we give them that kind of same advice too, just in case.
Options open, yeah, you know, because when you hit the Hall of Fame at 35, you might get bored and
totally, maybe they want to go back to school afterwards, or I don't know. Yeah.
Just one thing to note in a conversation to have with your student is they're starting to plan this all out. We'll show you the sheet that they can use to map it out. I think I mentioned this, so I'll say it quickly, but some university programs, if you're not going into STEM-related careers, will accept a language, a 30 level, a grade 12 level language, instead of grade 12 level math, as we're looking at averages and things. So it depends what the course is, obviously, much more of a humanities, but things to think through. Is there a reason to take, I'm so sick of Spanish, I don't want to take it anymore. But there's a couple of things. We'll talk later. Actually, there's a couple of good reasons to stay on with that language course, depending on the type of student that you are. And as we've already talked about, asking them to take a look at what might be a university program that you want to go to and what's required, and then plan backwards. I sent out an email today. I've sent this out before. This is a terrific tool. Get ready, get set, go for it. It's published by CBE, but it really explains the high school process in Alberta, regardless of the school. Private schools are going to look, you know, they're not going to have the variety. They're going to be, you know, but how to get the credits, how the courses work. This is what explains the whole process. So take a look, and some of the pages that we're going to show you up here come out of that book. So how do courses work? And I'm sorry, we have many families who've gone to high school here in Alberta, and we have many families who have no clue how these course numbers work. And our students, this is all new to them if they don't have an older sibling. So the courses are numbered. You might take English 10. That's a grade 10 level course. 20 is a grade 11 level course. And 30 would be traditionally grade 12 level. But then there's dashes. So if it's 10C, that means it hasn't been separated. Everyone's together. It's core. So sometimes we see English 10C, or we often see math 10C. And then when they move into the 20 level, it begins to be streamed into different strengths and different challenges. So what does that look like? A -1 is always more academic. The only thing more academic would be an AP course. And so -2 would be not as academic, but definitely very, you know, it's a challenging course. Some -2s are accepted for university entrance, again, depending on, you know, like an engineer is going to need his -1s in almost everything, but, or she. But if you're going to humanities and you're looking at math, math 30-2 would be just fine to get your math equivalent. And then it goes down. So for students that really struggle with math, in fact, we should talk about, well, we'll briefly mention this, but someone who really struggles with math, like they're barely passing, not really passing, they can take math 15 or 10-5.
Yeah, 15. Yeah.
15. And it walks them through grade 9 math again. And then they can go from there into math 10C. So it's kind of a pre-high school math they can take to help them get there. So a -3 would be it's more concrete and not as strenuous academically. And we're going to talk about these course descriptions a little bit more, but that's just the brief how the numbers work. So I wanted to mention the languages. GCA students in most high schools, rarely I hear there's a high school that said no, they had to take 10. But because they've had their language for at least 3 years, they would be welcome to register for the 20 level language. So there's one reason to continue their language. And if they're not STEM kind of students, the other reason might be that they could count it for their math if they're entering university with a weaker math score. COM does not have a number. It's the big health and personal life skills of high school. It's been in for about 30 years. You knew I taught COM the very first year it came out? Crazy.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I just revealed how old I am. Anyway, it's called Career and Life Management. We used to recommend that students try to take this online through the summer. What we're hearing is it's getting really hard. The Alberta Distance Education School shut down through COVID, and that's where the course was often accessible. So we haven't heard yet of a way to take it, although I do know there is a program in Canmore that you actually go there for about 2 weeks, and you can, it's a really kind of an outdoor adventure program, and they get their COM credit. Again, that just frees up some of their time, because what we want to do is help the students have room to study for those diploma exams when they're getting into grade 12 or grade 11 and grade 12. And also, many of our students are going to want to load up with all the sciences, and so their schedule becomes very full as they get into 20 and 30. So sometimes we talk to them a little bit about how you can free up your schedule a little bit. Credits for courses. Welcome to the big world. I think you're all very aware of this, but this is interesting for some of our grade 9 students. If your score is less than 50, you don't get credit, and you have to take it again. And high school diplomas are based on credits. We'll show you this slide. We won't go there yet, but the following slide shows from that booklet, shows what you need, what credits do you need for a high school diploma. And so just helping them understand, you pass the course, you get usually 5 credits. Then you have to pass the next one. So just explaining that piece. They call them complementary courses, otherwise known as options. In grade 10, typically, they would register for 3 options. They have to take phys ed in grade 10. It's mandatory to get your diploma, but that's it. They don't have to continue phys ed. Many students want to, and that becomes an option. So 3 options in addition to their phys ed. Their language would be an option. And then sometimes in grade 11 and 12, students would, if they're really going for the full AP or university route, then they would back off on the options so that they can take all their sciences and things like that. But some students manage to keep their options going right through, and it's a great time to just kind of see, what are you interested in? And you know, there is so much more to life besides the high professional careers. There's so many creative options. I didn't mean to, like, the options show so many creative pathways. Our world is changing so quickly, and so just thinking of the digital world, the options show some terrific opportunities there. There's engineering options, all kinds of dramatic options, all kinds of music options. So we really, recommend that they fully explore the options in grade 10 and then see from there if they want to continue in some of them. And usually they get credits. It's usually about 5 credits. It's usually based on every unit that they complete, and there's planned to be 5 units in a semester. So one unit gives them 1 credit, next unit gives them another credit. So they call those CTS credits. It's all part of the option program. So the following slide, this is what I was talking to you about for the high school diploma credits. So I'm not going to go into the detail. If you're unsure, go look at this page and it'll be clear. And if you have any questions after, but most parents don't have questions after they take a look at that.
Yeah, and this next one, again, I won't go into a ton of detail here, but it just gives a chance when we're talking about -1, -2, 10C, AP, IB, things like that, or AP here, not IB, that's a bit of a separate program. This chart kind of gives a bit of an idea if you're going, I'm wavering between, I'm not sure, what would be best to go into. And so it goes from the characteristics like excellent academic achievement, very strong performance on tests, strong interest in the subject. That's a huge one when we talk about AP or IB, is really the interest level in it. Because a student could be very strong in a subject but go, I'm not really interested, and it's not something, well, then a -1 is probably fine. But if someone goes, I'm really passionate about writing and reading and these things, then an AP could be an excellent option as well. And so as that chart kind of goes down, it just gives a little bit of a breakdown to help understand what characteristics match which courses. And again, the idea being the -1s and sometimes the -2s, along with AP and IB, are your routes to university, and then down to the -4, things like knowledge and employability, or -3s, that might be entering trades or something, or a direct-to-work type approach. So it just depends on a student's path, right? And so it's important to just be aware of how these types of courses affect that path, and how to best choose those based on current ability, but then also on, okay, where do I want to be at the end of high school? This next sheet is one that is going to be filled out. It's, again, in that document. It's one that students are going to be working on in health class. And so as in the next few weeks here, I would guess that is. Yeah, they're going to be filling it out. And basically what it does is the students can read through these course descriptions and start to piece together what their high school course schedule might look like all the way through, to get them thinking about not just 10th grade, but then how does that lead into 11th grade and beyond. And so it's a great activity, and you'll be able to see it in that booklet as well. So again, another great piece of conversation to be talking about, thinking not just about next year, but the years beyond as well. And we'll be going through that with students as well.
So the first column on that form, that would be grade 10 year, and they have to think through, am I going to want to take English 10? Does your high school have English 10-1? Does it have English 10 AP or pre-AP, whatever they're calling it? And so looking at the course characteristic, where would I fit in there? And then, okay, yeah, I'm going to take that -1. And then below, in the blanks, listing the options. And then starting to think through science. We should explain this. It's in the booklet. Students register for Science 10 in grade 10. In grade 11, so for the 20 level, they can continue just with Science 10, 20, 30, or it starts to split off. And so then they specialize in biology 20, chemistry 20, physics 20. Am I missing one? I don't think so. And then the same thing for the 30 level courses. And that's where I say it begins to be full if students are heading towards a STEM kind of vocation. So because they probably need all 3 sciences for some of them, and so they have to fit in those 3 courses. But that's part of the planning sheet, why that's good to have that plan sheet and just kind of think through. So then will I have room for maybe continuing this option if I like it, or could I switch to another one?
And if you're not sure on any, email their teacher too. So email the math teacher, email the LA teacher, and just say, hey, we're considering an AP program. What do you think? Or we're considering a -1. What do you think? And that's a great way too, just to be like, we're thinking this. Does that kind of match up with what you're seeing? And we'd be happy to chat about that.
Maybe going back to the which course should I take, you are probably well aware we're one of the few junior highs in the city that give percentages. It's much like an elementary style with maybe far exceeds, meets, below standard, that kind of report card in most junior highs. And so it's really difficult nowadays. So they created this characteristic idea, but they did have this description in the olden days when a lot of schools were using percentages. So you can kind of think of the top level as 90% and above. Then the student might consider those level of courses. The second level is 80s. An 85 might bump up if they're going, yeah, I just slacked off, I didn't do anything. It's like, okay, yeah, you should be up. Same with like a 75. The fourth down, second from the bottom, should be kind of the 70s level. But a lot of students we know are just kind of coasting through life in junior high, and they're well aware, and parents are well aware, and we're well aware they're brilliant, and when the rubber meets the road, they're going to show up, and they're going to really put the work in. So those are things to think about. So it's not a solid thing, but it tends to be 90s, 80s, 70s, kind of ballpark if you're thinking of the report card. Some of the courses we have to sign off on, and so it is important. If somebody is in, their average is, they've really been slacking off and their average is like 57, and they want to be registering for a -1, and if it has to be signed off, or AP, we can't sign off on it. So now it is starting to get real, those report card marks. AP or IB, this is the ongoing question. Really, if a student is in that top category, they love the subject, they love learning. A student shared with me today, they just love learning. We were talking about things we were thankful for in our Mexico teams, and this one student said, I just love this school, I love learning, I just love learning. I thought, oh man. So that person's probably gonna be in the top box. And that person could choose between AP or IB. There are students in here that just love learning. They're really excited, and they're excited about learning, and they're excited about the potential, what they could do in their lives. So they can look at either. IB tends to be a little bit more of an inquiry-based learning. It's definitely challenge learning, and it's very similar. AP is more challenging. It's really academic and challenging, where IB, there's a little bit of a difference in that they build in an inquiry base. If a student takes a full IB program, I have another document to show you, and it's a very robust program. Very few of our students take full IB, but I know there's a few out there that are thinking of it. But I think they already know why to take it. But we do have a document that shows what the full IB program does in the development of the student. And of course, there is an AP, a course in AP. If you pass the grade 12 AP exam, you could have credit for the introductory level course in university. And so you avoid that tuition fee. It helps you a little bit. I'm not sure that, I haven't heard of a lot of students using that benefit, but that is the benefit. And then IB is of course recognized internationally. Frequently asked questions. We'll blow through this a little bit. On the registration process, you may be asked, what is your child's CBE student ID number, or did they have one? And if your child has ever attended a public school in Calgary, then you have to find an old report card and find that number. If your child has never attended a public school in Calgary, then you don't have one. And if you're not attending a public school, you won't be asked this. All of you, somewhere in the form, will be asked the Alberta Education ID number or the ASN number. I think they're calling it Alberta Student Number now. That is on your child's report card. So look at their report card, and it's a long number that's right there. It's like 7 or 9 digits. Take a look at the course registration forms that are going to come from the individual schools. These are the public ones. Some of them are going to be asking for signatures if the student's applying for, they're just going to ask for signatures. So we need that ahead of time. Sometimes we're in meetings or we're out of the school. So really good for your student just to drop it off at the office and say, can you get Mr. Kennedy or Mrs. Allen to sign this for me? And the student comes back at the next break or at lunch, and it'll be signed waiting for them to get it. This is a procedure that's usually for public schools. Let me talk a little bit about career planning. Teresa Valero, a school mom, she's been with us for a number of years, and quite a few years. I think when her oldest, when Thomas was in like grade 3. She started working with our grade 9 students, and she's developed a program she's using all over the place called a purpose model. And so she spends time, and so she's coming in with our grade 9 students and spends time with the students, getting them to think about, what are you passionate about? What do you love doing? And then, what are you good at? And then, what are your dreams? Tell me your dreams. And then, how would your friends describe you? And looking at all those pieces, helping them to think through how does that come together? Is there an intersection that might point me to a career I might love? And then she spends a lot of time talking about, so we see she kind of unpacks this this model. And she speaks of vocation as this, I kind of call it, and she agrees, like God's call on your life. Like maybe you're getting a sense of how you've been wired and what you love to do. And oftentimes, that can be something that can earn you a living. We were just talking about a student, and they're mid-20s, and they love fishing. They've made a career out of guiding fishing. That's awesome. You know, my son is in Tofino working as a chef, and he's loving the adventure of that, kind of able to take his passions and pay for his rent to do that. But so Teresa really helps the students to kind of think through, instead of just like, I've got to do this, what are some of the possibilities that really align with who you are? And then talks to them a lot about, it's okay if you don't know right now, but continue to think about, what do you love to do? What are you good at as you get into high school? The option courses. Are you finding something that's really, really tweaking with you when you get into some of those option courses? And so she'll be working with our grade 9 students February 8th and 9th. If you are interested as a family, you're feeling like, you know what, I think my student could really use some one-on-one. I believe she would be open. I need to check with her. In the past she has, but I know she's her work hours are different now. She would be open to having an appointment with you as a family or parent and your child and talk a little bit further. So just put that in the back of your brain. Okay, we're going to move into a few questions that were sent on the high school intention form, but we're going to stop for a commercial break, an announcement break. Grad photo retakes, people have been asking. We have to wait for Life Touch to give us a date that you can book to come into their studio, and we've been bugging them, and they still haven't given us a date. So as soon as we know, we will email that out. And the grad blessing ceremony, make sure you know that information will be coming out soon. So questions that came in on the high school intention form, and please do fill out the high school intention form, because it gives us it's really helpful information to know even how to work with our students and help them through the process when we understand which schools they're looking at or what group of students to walk through, because the Catholic schools are going to walk the students through the process easier, they're going to walk you through the process. The public schools aren't, and so we want to make sure that those kids we're helping to walk through the course selection guide. And that course selection guide will be the big thing. It'll make a lot more sense for you as a parent when you see the public high school's course selection guide, and what do they have to make, what decisions do they have to make. And for the rest of you, hoping for All Saints or Holy Trinity Academy or the public or the private schools, they're going to walk you right through that process. So they'll take a lot of the boy, I don't know what I'm doing out of the formula. So, but a couple of questions come up. When will we find out if our student is accepted? And so that will usually take place for all of the schools, usually take place between March and April. If a transfer's been approved between March and April, the private schools, a few of the private schools will let you know right away, but the Catholic schools too, usually it's around March or April. If they're not accepted, do they need to apply to their CBE designate? Well, they certainly don't need to apply to their CBE designate, but you need to make sure that you're getting to another alternative school right away. But I do want to warn you, if your backup, as I said, if your backup is the designated public school, I would advise that you register for that and then let them know later on if your student's been accepted to All Saints or your student's been accepted to Holy Trinity Academy. Let them know he's been accepted elsewhere. He's not attending. But at least they get their course selection wish in the queue along with all the other students. If you wait till April and May, then a lot of the option courses that they're hoping for, or even it could be that their schedule is not as convenient. They try to manage the semesters, by the way, that question did come up. All of these schools are semesters except for Strathcona Tweedsmuir. And I think like some of the schools, like the Catholic schools, may have some courses that go through the year, but mostly it's semesterized. So make sure there's a backup plan if you're trying for something that's on a wish list.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this a bit, but one of the questions was how do we register for public schools? And so again, this is the same link as before, the CBE registration link, and then on the school website there will be a paper form that gets filled out and brought into the school. And so look for those January 26th, most likely around there, end of the month, and then registration start February 1st. Do courses fill up for options? Yes. So it's important to get registration forms filled out earlier than later to have the best chance of getting into those first choices for options. I know one school I was at, in terms of other courses, they'll once they have the registration forms in, they look at it and then they make their groupings based on that. So obviously for core subjects and things like that, there's not a concern of missing out, but the sooner the better in order to set up those schedules in the way that your child wants. So if you have any more questions, email Colleen. She's got you covered.
We'll keep going tonight because we have a lot of material to cover, and maybe we have time at the end for questions. But absolutely, email me any questions, or if you want to sit and chat about some of your thoughts or wonders, then we'll set something up.
All right, and if your child is not going to Mexico, this is your chance to watch maybe the hockey game. It's on right now, right? Anyone know the score in the game? Or do we not? No spoiler? No, we don't know? Okay, no spoilers. Good. Okay, got it.
That's what
There.
I want to know. Okay. You're going home to watch it, aren't you?
What's that?
Are you going home to watch it?
Very likely, yeah.
Yeah, okay. No spoilers.
And so Mexico is coming up quick as we started looking at the schedule. Man, it is ski trip coming up next week, which we talked about last week. We got Mexico in February. Some that are going on the Europe trip have that coming up. It is like bang, bang, bang. Lots going on. And so the first important detail is that final payment is due February 1st. That is in less than 2 weeks. So please keep an eye out. Make sure those payments are finalized before then. In terms of packing lists, so there's a huge list here. You'll be able to check this out. I'll highlight a few different things, and then there's more. There's another list coming up on the next slide. And so check these out on here, and we'll also send these out. But some important things to remember, obviously things for travel, like a passport is essential to have. And we'll talk about closer too, but as students go through, their muster leaders help them keep track of passports and store them while they're on the base and things like that, just to make sure they're always in a safe space. Water bottle is hugely important. Something that they can bring out to the build. So there's water at the build site, so we do provide water there. But it is important for them to have their own water bottle packed along as well. All the toiletries that they're going to need for the course of the week. A camera. Cameras are fine, digital cameras. When we say no phones, I'm going to explain in a minute what we mean by that. But if students want to take pictures, camera's the best way to do that. Sunscreen and a hat. Now, with this time of year, we'll talk a little bit about weather as well. Still throw that sunscreen in. It's not quite as intense as when we were there in June last year. or July, I mean. Yeah, definitely not as intense, but still doesn't hurt to have that. Flashlight is nice around the base, the missions base there. It just within the rooms and things like that can be helpful. Bring a Bible, like a hard copy of a Bible. Students shouldn't plan to use their phone for that. A couple of pens is nice to have. A notebook, we say. We do some journaling times and devotional times and things like that. So the stuff that they need for that. 2 towels and a face cloth. I guess one towel might get stinky before the end of the week, so nice to have 2. Sunglasses are nice. Personal first aid, so things like a few Band-Aids. If you know, they're going to need some gravel, or they're going to need some of this. We will have like emergency supplies and things like that, but if students can bring their own personal supplies for things they know they're going to need, that's very helpful, and we help students with that as well in muster groups. If there's other medication that's required, then students obviously need to bring that as well. So essential medication, and muster leaders help them with that, or their room leaders, I guess it would be, at the base. Money. So February 20th, they'll need money to eat out for lunch at In-N-Out Burger. There's a couple opportunities to get tacos, and then opportunity to go to the market there as well. So there's some souvenirs and things like that. And so it is important to have some money on hand. American money is great, even for in Mexico. That's generally what would be used. And so no need to get pesos. And not larger than $20 bills. So bedding is supplied, so you don't need, it's not like the retreats where you got to find a way to pack that sleeping bag onto the airplane and things like that. The bedding is provided, so no need to throw that in there. Clothing, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. Work clothes will get very dirty, so they're painting, and it's not going to come off. It's going to be, permanently dirty. So keep that in mind when packing the clothes that students will use. Sometimes it's the gym strip t-shirt that now won't be used for gym class anymore. So that could come along as a work shirt. Oftentimes we see students wearing that. I guess it's February, yeah. Maybe don't do that unless it's an old one. We do say plan to dress modestly, and so the Christian culture in Mexico defines and values modesty differently than here, and so we want to support their standards, and we find that it's an important lesson of missions work in general, is just supporting the standards of the community that you're going to, and so these are the standards that have been set. No crop tops or tank tops for guys or girls. It's cool in February, so students will want spring weather clothes. So between 10 and 19 degrees. Now there's a slight change on there. I thought got changed, but it didn't. We'll change it when we send it out. But we're saying no shorts. And that's just the weather won't be hot enough that shorts will be required. And so we're just asking, they don't need to bring along any shorts. Pants are great for everything that they're going to be doing. So work pants and a work shirt for 3 days of work. I don't recommend using the same work shirt all 3 days. It's happened before, and that shirt still smells no matter how many times it's been washed. So make sure you do that. Closed-toe work shoes are really important. They are going to be using tools and working in a construction environment, so they need safe footwear for that, something with good grip and with closed-toed. Comfortable casual shoes as well for around the base and inside the base. Casual clothing for dinner and ministry times, and then some Sunday dress clothes. And again, it's not that they need to wear a full tuxedo or anything like that for the guys, but we give some guidelines there of what would be expected. So one that in particular is making sure the guys have a pair of pants that are not jeans, so something khakis or something like that to bring along are great. But on that church day, it varies a little bit depending on the different churches that they go to. Some are much more conservative than others, and so we just try to set that standard at the one that would be the best for all. And so please, just take note of that. Knee-length skirts and dresses for the girls, or comfortable pants, things like that too. And then jacket, sweater, something warm. It does cool off quite a bit in the evening this time of year, even though it would be a bit warmer during the day. And then like a backpack or something that they can take along to the work site. For the phones, I said I was going to explain it. So phones can be brought for travel and on the airplane. Most airplanes now, that's how you connect to the entertainment systems and things like that. And so that's fine. And then we collect the phones. Usually it's on the bus ride once we're there. And at that point, the phones will be collected and they'll be stored by the muster leaders or by the small group leaders for the duration of the trip. And then at the end of the trip, when we get ready to go back on the airplane again, or when we're setting out from the base, those phones will be returned. And so there's always ways to get in touch with the team leaders who are down there. I'll give you the emergency contacts when necessary. And we'll talk about other ways that you'll be able to see what's going on without that direct contact via the phone. But here's our team leaders, Pastor Dave and Mrs. Allen, Pastor Brooklyn, Mr. Tennant, Mrs. Yang, Mr. Kanibi, Mrs. Dandino, and Mr. Tweedle. And so we're excited to have this group coming down with the grade 9. Some coming down for the first time. Some first time as a teacher, I think, for that. So that's kind of neat too. And really excited. It's been neat seeing them already starting to gather together with their small groups and get connected. And I think they're getting really excited about the trip.
Yeah, so the teams have been meeting together every Wednesday at lunch. We meet, and Pastor Dave leads us through some aspect of what to expect on the trip or things to think about to prepare for the trip. And then we usually have a chance to gather as our team and share some things. And today we were supposed to share 3 things we're thankful for, and they weren't allowed to say family, but many of the guys said family, so we had to say why, and you would have been touched to hear what they said about their parents. It did my heart good, so I just passed that on to you. But yeah, so we're gathering together, so yeah, we can just connect. Some of the teachers the students haven't been with for a couple of years, or Mrs. Allen, like, oh, she's the principal in the office. So we hang out together a little bit and talk about some of these things. And so we are the team that, so we'll split there's a male and a female on every team. It's talking about some of the safety procedures. The male teacher will be responsible for every one of the guys in that small group, and so they're the guys that they're walking across the border with. Their teacher in that small group will be taking the passports, and then the same thing for the female leader. And so that's how we move through everything, and we'll be on our buses in those teams, or if we're moving out to work sites or to churches in the vans, then we're in a van as a team. Nobody's leaving till all of my girls will be in that van or something like that, or we're all on the bus. So a lot of the gathering to, as I've said, also praying, and then we're going to be moving into the first 3 Wednesdays of February. We're going to be splitting out and become classroom buddies. We're going to be adopted by elementary classrooms, and so I don't know how it's going to work out. Maybe about 3 or 4 students will go to a classroom and talk a little bit about the trip, talk a little bit about what they're excited for, and have that class, those elementary students, pray for them, and they will commit to pray for them while we're away. And then when we come back, they'll go back to that classroom and share pictures and highlights of what the experience was like. So the adoption process is about to happen.
And it was really neat. Last year I was with some of the grade 9s coming down, and so my first year teaching here I taught grade 2. And there's some grade 9s in a grade 2 classroom, and I clued in the grade 9s that were there talking were the grade 2s I had taught my very first year of teaching. And so it had all flipped now that they had, and how quickly it went, that they were now and I remember being in that grade 2 classroom hearing from the grade 9s, and these students would have been hearing from them, and now they were the grade 9s passing that. It's a tradition in many ways, right? But just passing that vision along to the other grade 2s. And so it's cool to see the way that just reciprocates, and that kids get excited about the trip and learn about just the importance of mission and the vision that goes with that.
That's really cool because it really is the community's project, and that's what the pancake breakfast was about, was thanking the community for all their support with all the things we've been selling all year long, and the signs and the kids walking up and down the sidewalks collecting bottles and multiple things. So, yeah, we love that. We'll be sending out emails pretty quickly. We are short a lot of forms. You were sent a package for the registration process. There are 4 different forms that we need. YWAM has an online registration form that you need to fill out. We need the consent to travel. That's the piece that's notarized by the lawyer. We need a consent form that's for our GCA waiver. That needs to be signed along with the student code of conduct. And then for families, for students that are unvaccinated, we need the attestation form. Now, one of the parents here tonight was pointing out there's some confusion about how to fill out the attestation form. So I'll take a look at that and send families. I'll just send it out to all of you, and whoever needs it, take a look at it. And that is, there's something really interesting going on in the game right now. I'm distracted, sorry. And that hopefully will help you through that process. It's not too hard a form to fill out, but it's a little bit confusing. So that will come in an email, okay? Travel insurance. GCA purchases, so we're insured in 3 ways for the travel. Number 1, our general liability covers our students and supposedly covers them on a trip like this. However, we want to be very careful in days like, it's just whatever, right? Travel insurance insurance never quite works out to what you hoped it would be. So we also will be purchasing or have purchased travel insurance for each of the students, and that's covered in the costs. When we have the description of the coverage, the booklet, we'll send it out to you so you can see what that coverage is there. And then the third one is Youth with a Mission. Part of their whole what we're paying for as we go there, they have insurance to cover the participants in their program there. So there should be lots of insurance. We haven't had trouble with insurance on this trip, as my words are just blurring here. As compared to a COVID-hit Explorica trip to New York, that was a nightmare. Let's talk about safety concerns a little bit. If you look at the government travel directive, it looks kind of scary. It looks like, oh my goodness, why is the school taking students to this place? There has been, for many, many years, an alert, a travel alert for Mexico. So why do we feel that this is okay right now? I mean, things could change, but right now we feel this is okay. The unrest that has taken place in Mexico is far away from our location. I mean, it's like unrest in Ottawa. Can't imagine any unrest in Ottawa. Unrest in Ottawa, and people saying, oh my goodness, you can't take students to Canada. Now, it isn't the same. I know it's a more volatile country. I'm not trying to make light of the unrest. We are in contact with the base, and we have long relationships with the leadership at the base, and they are not seeing anything in their area. The security in the area is not, there's no extra mention. It is operating in its normal way. And there's always crime in the area, and we never go in those crime areas. So, it's like going to New York City. There's crime in New York City. There's crime in Calgary. So it is as stable as it has been for the many years that we have been there. We are 30 minutes from the border, so if something was to start to escalate, we hop in buses or we hop in vans. There's a big fleet of vans on the base, and so we would be across the border in a very short time. And so we'll continue those conversations. We'll watch carefully, but we have no reason to believe from the 28 years we've been doing this trip, we have no reason to believe that this year is exceptional in terms of danger as compared to any other year. I think I've talked, just a couple of safety concerns I do want you to note. We always travel in the daylight. We're never off campus at night in the dark. We always travel in large groups, and we always have anywhere from 4 to 8 Youth with a Mission staff with us traveling. So we are traveling in large groups in the daylight. And I've said this in the past, Youth with a Mission has a very, very long history in this area. They are known and loved in this area. And so just some of the reasons that we think right now we're okay. Travel details. There's the departure. Students, when they arrive at the airport, you guys did a Homewood trip, so it'll be kind of like this. Your student is going to be checking for where's their adult. Like, so for my girls in my group, they're going to be looking for Mrs. Allen, and we're all going to gather. You're going to work through the check-in process. We imagine that it's going, and I say imagine because we're working with airlines, and you just never know something. I'm not dissing them. Something just changes suddenly. But you will have the pre-check-in to do the night before within 24 hours. And then when you arrive at the airport, you will need to get the baggage tag. We don't want anyone traveling carry-on. You just need to bring too much stuff. So check the bag, help your your student get it to the check-in counter, and then be looking for their adult so that we can start to work the process. We are a mob. We always, they like us, but we always annoy them when you've got like 150 people in this, big group right at the check-ins for the WestJet. So we would like to, as soon as a group is ready, we like them to get through into the security zone so that we're alleviating the stress on the WestJet counter. So we're saying meeting at 7 a.m., and it just always takes longer with a large group, so we appreciate that. Baggage is covered, and students can bring one carry-on. And you can see there will be great excitement on Monday the 27th at 5:30 p.m. as we walk back through those doors and share our stories. Some people have been asking, can I send stuff down for the families? It's yes, but within moderation. In years past, we have gone with like 5 humanitarian bags, and we've got all this stuff to share, and we can't give it away, and we leave it behind on the base, and it becomes something that they have to do, and it's kind of actually becomes more of a burden because they have all these systems set up in place. So what I recommend is if your family wants to send something extra along, like a soccer ball, along with like a deflated soccer ball, along with a needle and a pump, something small like that for the families. We expect to know who our families are very soon, and as soon as we do, we'll send it out so you guys can meet the families and you get a sense of how many children are in the families, and is there a mom and a dad? Is it mom and grandma? And think of things like that. The other thing, if your family is just like, we just really want to give to this family, then I would suggest sending extra money. And we're not asking you to do that, but if your heart is just breaking and you want to do something, sometimes extra money can be really helpful. We can maybe buy school uniforms because a student can't go to public school in Tijuana if you don't have a school uniform, and they're not cheap. So sometimes that's the thing that keeps some of the little kiddos from attending school because their family can't afford a uniform. So little things like that. So yes, you can send extra things, but please keep it small. And I think that kind of covers it all. If you have any questions, let me know. We're really excited. Taylor Lowe's grandma, for many years, I want to say over 10 years, has sewn a quilt for each of our houses. And this is the first time she's going to have a granddaughter on the trip. And so we have those quilts that just add lots of color. And they're small quilts, and so they could be a wall hanging, or if there's a baby, it would be a perfect kind of cuddle quilt for them. So we take along little extra things. Travel blog, it will probably be on a website, but we'll get back to you exactly what the link will be, but we'll be posting stuff every day, updates and as many pictures as we can so you can be following along. And in terms of contact, we're not sharing out our cell phone numbers. I mean, you're certainly welcome to use my cell phone on the way down, but we will be switching to Mexican SIM cards when we get there so we can have like unlimited. And so we'll contact you with Dave Yang's Mexican cell number and my Mexican cell number once we're there for emergency contact. And then, of course, I mean, there are emails. We're super busy. There's constant supervision. So, I can't respond to lots of emails. But, if there's something really important, even popping an email really quick to say, hey, can you phone me? I got to talk to you about something. So just kind of a backup way to make sure that we get in touch with each other. All right, 8:09. That is not bad.
We do pretty good. I'm
So
impressed.
I will open it to questions, but I tend to find that it works better. If you have questions, come on down. I still got some voice here. So come on down if you want to ask some questions, or if you want to get out and watch the hockey game, then feel free to get out and email me questions or whatever. We appreciate your time. This will be recorded or will be put up once we get the recording edited, and the PowerPoint will be sent out, and there'll be lots more information. Grade 9 parents, it is really important in the next several weeks that you read the emails. We try not to bombard you, but there are a lot of important details that we'll be sending out in the coming days. So please find time to take a look at it and scan it. Beautiful. Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
I really have to talk with you with Max.